Supra versus Mustang coming right up. Two of the most iconic brand names in the car world. Ask yourself a question, which one would you own if you could only have one? Let the showdown begin. Supra versus Mustang. Looks. Both of these cars are high in this category. They both look great. The Supra's shape, it has low slung front, long bonnet, high roofline like a stealth bomber, elevated guards or extruded guards front and rear. It's very curvy, this one. A wide stance, a duckbill spoiler on the rear, and quite a large rear diffuser. Twin tailpipes. The Supra's front lights are similar to the Mark IV's. There's 6 LEDs in there, the 3 up the top of the low beam, the 3 down the bottom for the high beam. And there's these little red lights in between each one as well, a good feature. The indicator is the whole lower beam of the front headlight. Looks really cool. The rear of the Supra has so many shapes going on. This amazing sloping down rear arched guard looks like a McLaren nearly. And then this duckbill spoiler, and the whole end folds up towards each other at the top. Then the rear tail lights have got this triangular brake lights which also double up for the indicator. Now both these cars look completely different. The Mustang is typical American muscle. It has a big bulky grille that is up high in the chassis, and the Supra has all of the air intakes down below underneath the front. When the new shaped Mustang came out in 2015, I was absolutely gobsmacked. This is the first time I've liked an American car's looks this much. The first one I saw land in Australia and driving on the streets, I was absolutely breathtaking. Beautiful car, and to this day I will still look at every single Mustang driving past, but there's a lot. The Mustang is a bit square but definitely pulls off the look. So it comes straight up at the front, the big sort of truck-like grille, and then one bold straight line runs right across underneath the windows. Then it has another folding up line just in front of the rear wheel arch. All in all, Mustang's done a really good job of shaping this one. The iconic lights on the back. The Mustang has a low slung roof and small windows, not as small as the Camaro, but it's definitely one of the traits of the American muscle style look. Again, this car has twin tailpipes and a reasonably large rear diffuser. Also, the Mustang has really kept to its heritage. There's a lot of features on this car that look very similar to even the ones way back from the 1960s. I think the Supra would take it in the aerodynamics department all up, but the Supra does have a lot of fake vents. So in the looks department, I'm going to give the Mustang a 7 out of 10 and the Supra gets an 8 out of 10. Both of these are really good looking cars. But the Supra comes out on top because it is so flamboyant. The rear wheel arch guards, they are just sticking out so far. I don't know how Toyota has managed to make a panel like this, but it's absolutely extraordinary, and this is one of the first cars with this many lines. Engines are completely different. Of course, you got the 5-litre Coyote V8 engine in the Mustang, which puts out 460 horsepower now. And it's high in torque as well, 420 foot-pounds of torque. That's good for a naturally aspirated 5-litre V8. This is a good engine. The Supra, the B58 inline 3-litre 6-cylinder single-turboed engine, has 335 horsepower and 365 foot-pounds of torque. This engine's really in the limelight right now, and it's really starting to surprise a lot of people, including myself. It's turning out to be a great platform. Car and Driver magazine just dynoed the Supra, and it came in with 339 horsepower at the wheels, not the crank, and 427 pound-feet of torque at the wheels. Now, dyno results can vary, but they also did a 0 to 60 test in 3.8 seconds, and they crossed the quarter mile in 12.3 seconds at 113 miles per hour. This proves it's running more horsepower than the advertised 335. It also proves that Toyota must have done something different in this engine, as this makes the Supra faster than the M2 competition, with the S55 twin-turbo engine putting out 405 horsepower. Now I'm getting off track with the comparison here, but what I'm trying to say is this engine is really shaping up to be something really quite special. Maybe I'll make another video about this engine in the future. Watch out for that one. So, controversially, I'm going to tie these engines. They both get 6 stars out of 10. They both sound really good. We'll do the sound later on. Also, there's a lot of aftermarket technologies for both of these engines, and they're both capable of big power, but we'll get to that in the aftermarket. This is where it stands at stock level for these engines. Gearbox. Alright, of course, the Mustang. You've got two options here. You've got the 6-speed manual, which now has rev matching on downshifts. It also comes standard with a twin plate clutch. This means you could bang a supercharger onto the Mustang and use the stock clutch with it. Pretty impressive. Or you can have the 10-speed auto, which changes pretty quick, and it's been rated as a good box. In a straight line, the 10-speed auto is faster than the manual gearbox, but of course around the track you've got that option to get the manual. Also through the twisties of the canyons or out in the country, that manual gearbox is going to be a lot more fun to play with, and you've got a lot more to do. You're a lot more driver involved around the bends. In the Supra you've got the ZF Auto, one of the fastest changing gearboxes on the market. Is it track focused though? Will it be in the right gear when you're accelerating out of a corner? Personally, I would have loved to have seen the DCT out of the M2. We would all love a manual. It's not there. If this is a determining factor for you, then you're probably thinking the same as everybody else. There should have been a manual option for the Supra. A huge 8 out of 10 win for the Mustang here, particularly because of the fast changing auto and a twin plate manual clutch. That's awesome. Drag race between these two is pretty close. The Supra 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.1 seconds. The Mustang with the manual is 4.3 seconds and 4 seconds for the auto box. The quarter mile is done in the Supra at just 12.6 seconds, the same as the manual Mustang. The auto Mustang comes in at a whopping 11.86 at 118 miles an hour. That's amazing. We have to remember that the Supra hasn't been tested properly yet, except for Car and Driver magazine that claim 3.8 seconds 0 to 100 and a 12.3 at 113 miles an hour on the drag strip. That's fast. It's hard to draw a conclusion on this one, but basically the Supra does very well for having way under 100 horsepower less than the mighty 460 horsepower Mustang. The Supra is also limited to 250 kilometers an hour, and until we've seen some solid testing, then we don't really know how it's going to do completely, but it seems to be very underrated from the factory. So even though technically the Mustang wins the drag race, I'm going to give both of these a 6 out of 10 stars because they're just so close, and we're really not sure about how the Supra is going to actually do when it comes out. Handling. Well, these cars are very different. The Mustang is heavy. It's 1680 kgs. The Supra is not that light either. It's 1520 kgs, but still that does count. And with the Supra's short wheelbase and active diff, this should be a pretty good handling car and pretty nifty on the track. So here's a quick lap of Brands Hatch. This is me driving these cars. This is on GT Sport, so this isn't going to be perfect, and I am by no means a professional video game player, but it does give you a general idea and a comparison. This was cut out of 5 different laps, and I have done a lot of laps around here. The Supra turns a lot easier. The Mustang has a lot more mass even in the game. This is a bit of a simulation game, so you can see on every corner, this one here even, the Supra can turn in a lot better and then cut into the corner. But the acceleration out with the Mustang is actually better. It can get really good corner exit acceleration because of that big torquey V8. Surprisingly though, it's hard to keep the Supra in a straight line on corner exit,
When you put the foot on the accelerator, it tends to oversteer straight away. Unless you alter most of the settings in the anti-roll bars, the Supra will kick you out every time. So you've got to make those a lot stiffer, front and rear, on the Supra in order to make it handle. We'll see if these traits carry over to the production car when it comes out. Hopefully not. Now also, this is quite a curvy track, so the Supra does benefit around this track, but the Mustang actually gets ahead of the Supra on a lot of the other tracks on GT Sport. It's only because this is quite twisty that the Supra can get ahead. I tried to do it on other tracks and the Mustang was beating it every time. So let's have a look. They're coming around one of the final corners now, and I was only just able to get ahead still with the Supra on this. In fact, the RZ Supra from 1994, 1993 can beat the new Supra every time. So the Supra crosses the line with a 135.845, and the Mustang is right behind it with a 136.245.
There is evidence that the Supra is tail happy. Which car do I choose to win this one? I think it's still going to go to the Supra, mainly because of the weight and the short wheelbase. I could be wrong though.
Supra gets the benefit of the doubt here, so I'm giving it 7 out of 10 stars. Mustang gets 6 out of 10 stars. Supra wins because of the short wheelbase 50-50 weight distribution. Hopefully it is true when the car gets tested properly.
Interior. In both cars,
you've got a reasonably high quality of interior. The finish is lovely in both of them, and there's leather all over the place and not that much plastic. The Mustang got a considerable upgrade in 2018 with this configurable digital gauge cluster. Also, the Sync 3 infotainment system is one of the best with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. There's more storage in the Mustang as well, with a cubby in between the two seats, and of course you've got the back seats for other people to sit in or just to put things in, which the Supra doesn't have. The Supra, I have a bone to pick with Toyota here. This is all BMW interior. The last place you wanted to see all the BMW was inside when you're driving the car every single day. Why did they do this? It is pulled off well though. This padding down by your knee is a great feature to rest your knee on, and the 8-inch BMW infotainment system is splendid, darling. And overall it creates the feeling of a higher end little sports car compared to the GT Mustang. There is a few flaws with the Supra. The A-pillars are really thick and there's no storage cubby underneath the cup holders. The seats are next level though. Check these things out. These look great. The Supra has to take this just for the sheer quality of the finish. Even though this is BMW interior, the Supra wins this one. Ford's still done a great job here. 6 stars out of 10.
Sound.
While the Supra does a burnout, we'll have a chat. So both of these cars have active exhausts. The Mustang's got 4 different settings: quiet, normal, sports and track. The Supra only has 2 driving modes, normal and sport. The sport mode opens up the exhaust a little bit more, makes it a little bit louder. Tetsuya Tada openly says that he's most proud of the sound of the exhaust, so he's spent a lot of time on this, but I'm afraid it cannot compete with the might of the V8 Mustang. The raspy rumble of the Coyote V8 just takes it over the symmetrical high-pitched roar of the inline-6 turbo. This new trend of adjustable pitch exhaust is hopefully one that's here to stay, as it really adds character to both the cars.
Value for money. Well, you've got to give it to Ford. They've done such an amazing job with this car.
It's no wonder these things sell like hotcakes. The GT for $36,350 starter in America and $68,200 Australian is a total bargain. The Supra comes in at $50k US dollars and approximately 72,000 Australian bucks. The Mustang does have a much more practical side to it with the back seat, a larger boot, and just more space in general. If you only were to own one car and this was your daily driver, then the Mustang may prove to be a smarter option. The Supra is a bit more of a weekend car compared. The Supra is also incredible value for money. Because of the collaboration between Toyota and BMW, they've been able to save a lot of costs with using the same platform for two cars. The Supra really isn't that far behind the Mustang with value for money. This is one of the strongest categories for these two. They're both incredible value for money. Considering the Supra's counterpart car, the Z4, is so much more expensive than it, and just everything you get on the Mustang, a 5-litre quad-cam V8, everything is just packed into these cars, and they are such good value for their money.
Xfactor. Well, there's a lot of Mustangs.
They've sold so well that they've become common. Not a good word when you're trying to buy an exotic sports car. This is where the aftermarket can come in, with companies like Hennessy and Roush building supercharger kits and body kits. Not too over the top either, or if wide bodies you fancy, there's lots of crazy stuff like this. The Supra for me though is next level in this category. It really does shine. Anything in this price range doesn't come close to what this car looks like. The aftermarket is also set to explode on the Supra, with Tata-san already giving it to aftermarket companies to measure up all the dimensions of the car. He's also shown us that the chassis has built-in features for aftermarket, including the hatch being reinforced for a larger wing. The Supra was designed and manufactured with aftermarket in mind, and that's why it takes out this category for the Xfactor and for aftermarket capabilities. The engine is also very capable, as is the V8 Mustang, but it's a lot easier to just wind the boost up an already turbocharged engine. So why have I chosen a comparison of these two cars? As they're not that similar. I think they represent an all-round image and package that appeals to so many walks of life. These are a new era of cars. They are like toys for grown-ups to play with, crackling in adjustable exhaust tones, singing a song of horsepower down the street. They're affordable and will seduce a hard motoring enthusiast to take to cars and coffee or for a track day, as well as a corporate businessman or woman to accessorize their finely tailored suits and brag a fine-tuned image of lifestyle whilst perusing through the busy city streets of mirror towers on the daily commute downtown. There is no champion between these two. They end up in a draw. Maybe if the Supra had have come with a manual box, it could have edged out the Mustang. So both cars get 62 out of 90. The hard truth is both these cars are winners, and they will carry their godlike status brand names into the future.
Well, that's all for this video, folks. I hope you enjoyed this one. I beg you, please hit the subscribe button for me to make more of these in the future. I'm a brand new channel. I love doing this, but I do need help. If you enjoyed this, please hit the subscribe button. As always, my name is Clayton, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay cool and keep trucking.
I feel just like